Welcome back to Small Caps. My name's Kerry Stevenson. Today we're talking with Todd Williams. He's the Managing Director of E2 Metals. ASX code is E2M. They are working in Argentina. Got a lot of projects across there, doing lots and lots of drilling. Todd, welcome to Small Caps. Good to see you, and let's have an update on E2 Metals.
Yeah, good morning, Kerry. Thanks a lot. I guess you've done half of my job for me with that intro. Really, E2 Metals, we're an explorer. We're focused on gold and silver in Argentina mainly, and we're focused in Argentine Patagonia. So that's the southern part of Argentina. So we've got projects there in Santa Cruz and to the north in Rio Negro. And I guess the point of difference for us is, we're very much a sort of greenfield specialist, if you could put it that way. We've got a highly technical and discovery orientated team. And, what we'd like to do is go into areas where there's very little competition and huge opportunity, and basically just get out there and do good old fashioned boots and hammer type work. And I guess, as an example of that sort of business model, evolving with time. We've been in Santa Cruz for 4 years. We really like the province because it's it's the eastern gold fields of South America is what we call it. There's lots of big mines there. All the big mining companies are there. There's great infrastructure. But there was a point in time in 2016 where there was almost no interest in exploring in Santa Cruz. A lot of the big budgets from the corporates had been cut. And, the team and we went in there and picked up quite a commanding land position along trend from most of the world-class mining districts. And, we've been slowly chipping away over the last 18 months, showing that, we've, not only got a new greenfields discovery in one of those projects, but, it's essentially next door to one of the largest epithermal vein fields in the world. So, so that's the sort of the business model. That's how we operate. And I guess the point today is just to provide a quick update on how we're going there in Santa Cruz, and also introduce the work we're doing in Rio Negro.
Well, far be it from me to ask you a question. Let's talk about where you are with Santa Cruz. And you had a recent hit at your Amelia project. Let's talk about that and what sort of work you're doing around that.
Yeah, so I guess the recent silver hit at Amelia is within our, what we would call our flagship or anchor project called Conserrat. Now, Conserrat is a very interesting piece of ground. It's essentially a long strike from Cerro Vanguardia, which I said before was one of the largest epithermal vein fields in the world and also in the province. And it was really quite simple, the exploration thesis for us. We saw those epithermal veins trending off to the northwest under shallow cover, and we pegged what we thought was the covered extension of the Cerro Vanguardia vein field. And so essentially what we've been doing over the past 6 months is sort of proving that to be true. We've made a number of discoveries. We've drilled 11 prospects to date, and we've returned greater than sort of 3 grams gold equivalent type hits at 7 of those 11 prospects. So we're really piecing together what seems to be a new district there at Conserrat. And Amelia is just one of the sort of more recent discoveries that we've made. It was a bit of an interesting discovery in that it's within a suite of rocks that are completely different to the high-grade Mir discovery that we made further to the south. So at Mir, we essentially returned a discovery drill hole of 18 metres at 47 grams gold, but that was within what we call sort of typical epithermal veins, these sort of banded quartz veins. And what's really interesting is that we've moved, 5 kilometres to the north at Amelia, where we saw some really strong geochemistry in the rock chips and soils. And we've drilled a fence across some of the strongest geochemical anomalies. And about 150 metres out undercover, we've hit 9.5 metres at 375 grams silver, and just under 0.5 grams gold. So that, in simple terms, that's about 10 metres at 6 grams gold equivalent. And that's basically in a new area that hasn't been explored at all. And as I said, it's quite interesting for us because it's a different style of mineralisation. It's what they call like a manto or a mantle. So it's sort of sub-horizontal mineralisation within a sort of spongy rock, if you can call it that. And, you know, like I said, it's completely undercover, so it's completely concealed, and you wouldn't have known it was there if we hadn't put the hole in the ground.
So you're going to continue to drill in and around that to try and see how it all pieces together?
Yeah, that's right. So I guess the discovery itself has two implications. Firstly, you know, there's an opportunity there that we can start piecing together a new silver-rich zone of mineralisation within the project, and we've got 2 drill rigs on site now, you know, following up on that work, so stepping out along strike and down dip of that mineralised hit. But secondly, what it does is it just completely opens up a new prospectivity option for the project. So we're now looking at similar targets elsewhere where we've got the same sort of rocks, the same sort of geochemistry, and, you know, we're now seeing areas where, you know, we could potentially have more, let's call it Amelia style mineralisation. So it's a bit of a paradigm shift for us at the moment. And, you know,
what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that, Todd?
Well, it's a paradigm shift in that, you know, a lot of your exploration is centred on models, targeting models. So, you know, when we discovered the high-grade gold and silver mineralisation at Mia, it was sort of, all right, now we need to go off and find more Mia-type mineralisation. And so you spend a lot of time getting your head around the specific controls that you think led to the formulation of that mineralisation in the Earth's crust. And then, you know, as the explorationist, as soon as you sort of focus on a model, you get popped on the head and you find something that's completely different that you weren't expecting, that's just a different style of mineralisation in a different type of rocks.
Okay.
You get a friendly reminder that, you know, in exploration, you need to be very open-minded, and, you know, you've just got to get out there and test a whole lot of ideas. And so that's what we're doing. So really, you know, just to sort of bring it back to where we are with Conserrat, I think what it highlights is that the challenge there is that we still don't know exactly what we've got. There's a lot of cover and we're making discoveries under that cover. The opportunity is that we still don't know what we've got, which means that, you know, you are essentially just one drill hole away from a sort of transformative discovery.
When you say you're one drill hole away, is this a very silver-rich area that you're in Conserrat? Is that what you're looking for, a very rich silver deposit, or what's your thinking around it?
Yes, so it's the Santa Cruz Province is both a world-class gold and silver province.
Okay.
And some of those mines have predominantly gold with lesser silver, and some of the mines have predominantly silver with lesser gold. And that's why, you know, you've got global majors like Pan American Silver down there, but you've also got guys like Newmont, and, you know, they can pick and choose which commodity they want depending on the flavour of the month. So, you know, what we see at Conserrat is we see that it's got more of a silver scent. You know, there's certainly high-grade gold there. We know that from the discovery at Mia. But, you know, all the mineralisation that we've discovered to date at those 7 prospects, silver seems to be the sort of common denominator that hangs it, glues it all together. And this silver-rich hit at Amelia, I think, just sort of further reinforces that we've got potential to sort of find, you know, something that could be distinct on the ASX, in that there really aren't a whole lot of pure silver stocks on the ASX, particularly ones with, let's call it blue sky potential.
You mentioned that there's a lot of, you know, Pan American Silver and a number of the big mines. Paint me a picture of the district that you're in. Is it along the same sort of geological structure as some of these big companies that are in there and doing extremely well for their shareholders? Is it sort of along, I just want to kind of paint the picture for our listeners as to whereabouts you are in terms of some of these other majors that are they're fairly close by? Are you along the same sort of structure, or is this a new area?
Yeah, well, like in the context of, well, just in terms of corporate strategy, when you go to a place like Santa Cruz, you have the choice of, testing, old concepts in new areas or testing new concepts in old areas. And, what we focused on, sorry, when we went to Santa Cruz was really going to proven districts with known endowment and just looking at things a little bit differently. And so, in the context of Conserrat, that project is essentially a long trend from Cerro Vanguardia. It's on the same structural corridor which hosts the Cerro Vanguardia mine. And so, we're basically looking for really big and simple exploration hypotheses to test. We don't like to try and prove endowment or reinvent the wheel. We're essentially just looking for continuations of those known mineralised systems, but along strike or along trend from those systems. So to answer your question, all of our portfolio pretty much clusters within those known districts and is strategically located along trend from the known operating mines.
Having some known operating mines around you, what is your strategy, from a longer term, short term, you are an explorer. And as you said earlier, you're one drill hit away from a discovery which can be transformational for E2M. What's your strategy to try and hang all this together? And can you see one of the majors, if you do make one of these big discoveries, coming in and saying, right, that's what we like, we'll take you out?
Yeah, I guess we don't plan on building a mine in Argentina, certainly not with the management team that we currently have. And, we do fancy ourselves to be quite good explorers. So I guess that gives you a bit of an insight into our posture as a company around how we would potentially develop a discovery within Santa Cruz. And, we are only sort of 15 to 25 kilometres away from Cerro Vanguardia, which we all know is sort of running out of material for that plant. And so, look, we'd be quite happy to be tapped on the shoulder if someone wanted to peer over the fence and make an offer for a discovery. But, we're just not quite there yet. We feel that there's still a lot of meat on the bone for us to make more discoveries. Where I would like to see E2 Metals is that we sort of position ourselves as a high quality silver stock with gold on the ASX. I'm really bullish on silver over the next 18 to 24 months.
Yeah.
If you look at silver, we've got it's essentially an industrial metal which will benefit from all the fiscal stimulus that it's going on. It's also a monetary metal, so that should benefit by all the sort of monetary policy or rampant money printing that's going on. Absolutely. And if you look at the history of the silver price after the GFC, it really peaked 3 years after the GFC in 2011. And I think the way I see it, we've got a sort of 12 to 18 month runway as a company to piece together something of value to then, sell into what I see as, potentially a very buoyant silver market in the next 18 months to 24 months. So I think that's really the opportunity for E2 is just get that, that sort of explosive value creation through discovery, but then you throw a bit of gasoline on top with hopefully some very strong tailwinds in the silver market.
I love it. Throw some gasoline on top. Well, Todd, I know you're very well funded. Let's talk for our listeners to our investors out there. What's your strategy moving forward? You are well funded. Talk us through the strategy over the next few months for E2M.
So I guess the idea is to be disciplined and, make sure that we're putting the drill holes in the right spot. That's always a good strategy. And really what we're focused on at the moment is, I guess, making sure that we're not running a bit of a lazy balance sheet with respect to our human capital that's within the organisation. We are a discovery-orientated business, and when we discovered high-grade mineralisation at Conserrat, I think there was a lot of people that thought that we would just kind of put our flag there and put the Q in the Q rack and just focus on advancing that as a single asset. And look, we're 100% engaged in doing that, but you know, we are also deploying our smarts elsewhere in Argentina, and you know, it'd be remiss not to. And the work that we're doing in Rio Negro at the moment, I guess, sort of teases out that two-pronged strategy that we've been working on for probably the last 12 months. And you know, my simple philosophy is this: if you are going to operate in a country like Argentina, which, you know, obviously has a higher geopolitical risk profile than, say, Australia or Canada, you'd be remiss not to give your shareholders the optionality of tripping over a world-class discovery, if I can put it that way. You know, you really want to be looking in some areas that no one's ever been before, and putting together some really interesting concepts which could, you know, almost act as a bit of a free spin for your shareholders. And, you know, that's been the focus for Rio Negro. You know, that's a province north of Santa Cruz. The government there does have a pro-mining agenda, but it hasn't yet translated in a mine being built in that province. And a lot of that is because, you know, no one's really gone in there and done the serious work required to find a world-class deposit.
But Todd, let me interrupt you, because this is actually the opportunity for shareholders right now, because there hasn't been a lot of work done around Rio Negro, but you've had some very good results. Can you just share with us some of the results from Rio Negro and what your strategy is there?
Yeah, so the general, like the 30,000 foot strategy around Rio Negro is, all right, we know a huge amount about Santa Cruz, and the geology and the geological potential of Rio Negro is very similar. So let's deploy that smarts to a province with huge amounts of opportunity and almost zero competition. And so that's the general 30,000 foot reason why we are there. Now, in terms of Rio Negro itself, you know, there was a phase of exploration in the early 2000s. A lot of that work was led by majors like AngloGold. That led to a number of sort of, let's call it, small epithermal gold, silver prospects. None of those really hung together to, you know, become anything of note. And so, you know, we looked at that and said, okay, why hasn't anyone found anything in Rio Negro yet? And, you know, one very simple empirical observation is that, you know, if you look at Santa Cruz, pound for pound, the most fertile districts are right on the margins of the geological province of the Desierto Massif. And so we thought, well, hang on, if that's the most fertile position in Santa Cruz, why don't we just look in the western margin of Rio Negro? And so that's what we've done. We've basically picked up over 170,000 hectares of ground, mainly in that western margin of the Rio Negro province. We've defined 12 intrusion-related gold prospects spanning 100 kilometres. So, you know, we don't think we've discovered a prospect, we think we've discovered a district. And we've just released the sort of systematic, or the results of the first systematic sampling for one of the 12 targets, and that was target 37. And essentially what we've done is we've gone out there and sampled what is a large intrusive centre with veins. We've sampled on a 20 by 40 metre grid, which is quite a very tight systematic grid. And yeah, we've announced some exceptional surface results. So some of those results are 60 metres at 5.7 grams gold, you know, 100 metres at 3 grams gold, you know, and a lot of this is over a very wide zone. So we've defined a sort of gold mineralised system that's about 950 by 500 metres in dimension. So look, the reality is it's still very early days. You know, these are sort of essentially channel chip sample results. So they are semi-quantitative in that, you know, it's not exactly a drill hole. But the reality is what we were seeking to prove with this work is we're seeking to prove, firstly, that our models are correct, that there is a gold district out there that's been overlooked, which I think we've done with flying colours. Secondly, we were seeking to prove the distribution, or the potential distribution and grade of mineralisation within these systems, which we've done. And we've also identified a lot of visible gold in all of our samples. So, there's a system there. Now it's just really a case of, getting the drill permits in place, getting out there and doing the drilling required to show that this mineralisation continues down at depth. So really that's the next major catalyst for Rio Negro. But what I will say is, that they are the results of sampling at the first of 12 prospects, and investors can expect to see quite a lot of news flow coming in from the other 11 prospects over the next sort of 3 months.
So you think you might have uncovered a new gold district up there in Rio Negro? Is that going to be your focus? Because we're running out of time. Is that going to be your focus going forward, Rio Negro? But as you said, a two-pronged approach. You're still going to be doing some work in your southern prospects as well. But Rio Negro, do you think you might have a tiger by the tail there, or what's, don't like to put words in your mouth, but do you think that you might have stumbled across quite a strong gold district up there?
Yeah, well, I guess the example for us is, Hemi in the Pilbara. That's an intrusion-related gold system.
Yep.
What we've found is an intrusion-related gold system, and what the Hemi discovery has shown is that, if you find one system, you're going to find more. It's a district. It's a belt of deposits. And so, what we've seen in our preliminary sampling is that, we feel that, we do have something that looks like that. And, really what we'll seek to do is towards the end of the year is get out there and do a scout program over all of the prospects that hang together. So a very comprehensive regional scout program. And look, that's either going to hang together or it's not. And I think what shareholders can be comforted by is the fact that, a lot of the valuation of E2 at the moment is backstopped by what we've discovered at Conserrat. And really, Rio Negro becomes a free spin in the portfolio. So, look, we'll be following up mineralisation at Amelia. We'll be looking to piece together the silver story at Conserrat. We'll continue our sampling at Rio Negro. That's very cheap work. It's, we're only spending about 30, 40 grand a month there in Rio Negro doing that work. And, we'll be putting our flag on the end of the year for a sort of a very comprehensive regional scout program at those prospects. So I guess at the end of the day, there's no grass growing under our toes at E2 Metals.
You're out there working very hard. Final comments for our investors. Why should they invest in E2 Metals right now? I guess, do you think it's Rio Negro, which is, as you said, is almost the free spin-off that people haven't even realised possibly what you've got up there?
Yeah, look, I think it's all a free spin, to be honest. I think with the money in the bank, our EV is looking very cheap, given, the success that we've had at Conserrat. I think our sort of valuation is almost backstopped by what we've found to date. So I just think investors can be comforted that, we've got an asset base, a team and the cash to deliver a transformative drill hit at either Conserrat or Rio Negro. And, they get the possible tailwinds in silver and gold for free. So, you need to make money in this industry, and I'm not giving financial advice, Kerry, because I'm a geologist, but, to make money in this industry, you really need to be one step ahead of retail cash inflows. And, you've got to find high quality stocks like silver or gold stocks, then you just got to nibble away and build a position, and then one day it's all going to be very sexy, and that's the time that you want to buy. So I think we're attracting more of a sort of contrarian type investor now, someone who recognises the long-term potential and sees that we're a serious management team and we're out there doing good work.
Well, they're putting the money in the ground, ladies and gentlemen, doing lots of drilling and possibly onto new districts. Todd Williams, there's a lot of news flow coming forward in the next few months, so good luck with it all. And I'm really fascinated by your Rio Negro prospect. I'll be having a very close look at what you're doing up there. Thanks for joining us on Small Caps today.
No worries. Thanks, Kerry.